to sit all day.
Okay. I made a report last year about an attorney
Okay.
who did a fraudulent adoption for my daughter.
Okay.
He forged a the acknowledgement of paternity. Forged another attorney's name to it. Now I've been to the DA's office. I've been reported everywhere. But now I was told to call Internal Affairs. I called Internal Affairs yesterday. They said no, call back the sheriff's, and I've been stopping down the sheriff's department.
You called Internal Affairs for the county?
Yeah. They told me to, because what this attorney did is he threatened me.
Okay.
He's threatened me numerous threats, and they're coming true.
Okay.
One of the threats he made against me is I'm going to end up in a ditch.
Okay.
One of the threats he made was, my partner is Schiano, and his brother Mark is a sergeant, which I didn't know. I thought Mark worked for the Syracuse Police Department.
Okay.
And he goes, we're going to take your house away. He goes, if you don't shut the F up about this adoption.
Okay.
Because he did a fraudulent adoption, and now he's using the sheriff's department, and he's used judges' names, other lawyers' names. He's been very specific with me about what he's going to do and how he's going to do it. This was about a year ago.
So you already reported this to who?
Well, I reported it to the sheriff's department.
Okay.
And what they told me is that I had to call Internal Affairs because of the whole thing with Schiano. I said, I'm not accusing Sargent Schiano of doing anything. I'm just saying that I have a sheriff's deed that has been altered.
Okay.
After the sheriff supposedly signed it.
What's that? What's that?
Taking my house away.
Who says that?
It's a long story, but I own this house.
Yep.
Going through a divorce. I fired my attorney, Richard Lombardo, in 2022 because I caught him working with Anthony Germano behind the scenes.
Okay.
He admitted to me, I have him recorded, like crying, begging me not to report him to the bar, report him to police. I reported him to the Bar Association, I did all that. Between then and now, somehow they had a divorce without me because I went to the clerk's house and I pulled all the paperwork. During that time, there was court dates that I was never invited to. One of the dates that I appeared in court, I was actually on the phone with the FBI all day because I reported this on a federal level too, because the Office of the Inspector Generals and the OIG and the Social Security Administration is involved because my daughter has her Social Security number reflects one last name and her birth certificate reflects another because of this fraudulent adoption.
Okay.
He produced a fraudulent birth certificate. What he did is he took a court order from Judge Gilbert that allows him to change her name legally. But then he had to sign an acknowledgement of paternity on, where is it, 6/14 of 2008. We went to his office to finalize the adoption.
How old's your daughter?
She's 13 now.
Okay. The mother, is she in the picture and everything? Or
The mother is, we split up. This is how this all came.
So my question is, do they have an issue with all this?
There's a big issue with it because my daughter has two.
No, I know, but are they going through processes regarding this too, or is it just you?
Well, the whole reason why the Social Security Administration contacted me, because mom reported me for collecting disability benefits for Isabella fraudulently because of her last name. She didn't tell everybody that. When the Social Security Administration, I said, what am I supposed to do? They said, report to the courts, report to the police, and report it to the courts, whatever. And I did this, and now he's attacking me and threatening me because I've done what the federal government has told me to do.
So what is what's the AG's office? Because they're the highest law enforcement agency. So if what they're telling you is pretty much what's going to go, because they're that's what I thought you said.
No, Office of the OIG. They are federal. They're the one that handle the Social Security Administration.
I gotcha. Okay. I thought you said the Attorney General.
No, it's the Office of the Inspector General.
I gotcha. Okay.
And they investigate fraud on a federal level, which this is.
Right.
But I've been told by them to report to a state level, to the county.
So when's the last time you've spoken to Mr. Germano?
text messages. I don't remember the exact date of the phone call, but
And this was your lawyer at the time?
no, this was my ex-wife's lawyer before we were even married.
Okay.
He did this before we were married.
I gotcha.
And I questioned it because he asked me to sign this, and then I had all the evidence here. In the text message, I said I don't feel comfortable signing it because it says I'm the biological father. Is that right? And in the text message, he explains it away, and he says we'll talk more on Monday. And Monday, he told me this is part of the adoption process.
So this was signed off on by a judge?
The name to change my daughter's name, Isabella, to change her last name to Urbino, which is my last name.
Mm-hmm.
The judge okayed that in a court order.
Okay.
But in that court order, he says he's not changing paternity. It's not granting me the father. He's just changing a name, which I didn't know about any of this until 2022.
Okay.
Okay. So what he did then is he took Judge Gilbert's order and he took this document here, had us sign it as part of the adoption process that I even questioned in writing. He signed Joseph Ferteschi, his old law firm partner that he's no longer in firm with anymore at this point, and he had his paralegal, whose name was Wendy, sign Karen Smith to it. So he signed. They signed fictitious names, and then this was taken with the order, and they produced. With that, we got a birth certificate with some mistakes on it, and he put me on as the father because he's had me sign a knowledge of maternity. I'm told by adoption attorneys this is called a quickie adoption, and it's illegal as all hell, and it's fraud. It's complete fraud, and they said not the fact that you spent over $5,000 on adoption. That's the least of your problems. The fact is that your daughter now has a birth certificate here, and then her original birth certificate there was no father on, so he just filled in the blanks fraudulently. But
so what does your ex-wife have to say about the birth certificates being fictitious?
She's went back to using she's went back to using the old one, breaking a court order.
I gotcha.
So it's a big mess. And
so I guess what can I do for you? Because this is pretty much above the county's pay grade. This is like all lawyer type stuff. It's got to be handled through the courts.
Well,
because I can't do anything with these documents.
Well, I need to write you a report so I can speak with a detective or investigator and I can sit down with them and go over all this because there's a lot to it. That's what you'd have to call our detective. This isn't a patrol level matter. I was told to file an initial report, give you a report, and then I could follow up with the detective.
But this was already documented.
Just part of it, just the forgery part, but not the rest of it.
Okay. And this has been going on for 2 years?
This started in
22, you said.
22, yeah, okay. 22.
All right. So what am I here for the Anthony Germano portion?
Well, he threatened me, and I got threats.
You said you have text messages from him?
Yeah, he didn't threaten me in text messages. Oh. He's a lawyer, obviously, he wouldn't do that. It was on phone calls.
Okay.
And I do have him recorded telling me that specific people are his friends.
Okay.
Which I've given that evidence to the federal authorities because. And every time I said an email to anybody, I copied the Department of Justice because of the threats in the courts and all that.
So what I'm thinking is our detectives aren't going to take over this if it's already being investigated by. It's already being investigated.
I was told to report it on a local level.
Well, I don't know if you talked to who did you talk to in Internal Affairs?
Your
Could it have been like a receptionist or something?
Your department?
Yeah.
I can tell you exactly what it was. He left me a voicemail and I called him back. He said to call the 911 number and have him report me because he only investigates other law enforcement agencies. They told me down at the clerk's office to call Internal Affairs because one of the threats he made was using Sargent Schiano's name. That's why they told me. He said we don't investigate attorneys, and Mr. Schiano did not threaten you personally. I said no, he did not.
Correct. So that's why we wouldn't get involved.
But I have a man here who threatened me using his friend, a sheriff's deputy.
You just said his name. What's the threat? I'm wondering what the threat is.
He told me if you don't shut the fuck up about this adoption, I'm going to have my friend Sargent Schiano take your house away, and you're gonna end up in a fucking ditch.
But that's not Sargent Schiano, because he's gonna take your house away. He's a deputy.
Well, you know what? I don't think Schiano would personally do it. I don't think he would personally do it, but he used his name, and I here have a sheriff's deed by the sheriff's department that's taking my house away that was altered after the sheriff signed it. So I need to speak with a detective so he can look over it.
Well, you can call our CID and try to talk to him that way, because this isn't a patrol level police matter.
I was told, it was just told by Lisa Dell.
But they just said we don't investigate that.
Internal Affairs doesn't investigate that.
And neither do we. Whatever was made that over that phone wasn't a threat. Other than taking away your home, that's not a threat. That's not a crime.
So an attorney tells me to shut the fuck up about a fraudulent adoption that he did.
This was 2 years ago, and it's already been investigated a bunch of times, right?
No, it's not. It's been. I reported this to the sheriff's department a year ago.
So it's already
8 months ago. No, they told me that I had to write a new report because
we don't just keep writing reports on things.
Okay, I just spoke with Lisa Dell.
Well, you can call them back, or you can ask for a supervisor to come out here, because I'm telling you,
Could you call a supervisor?
Sure, absolutely.
I'm not trying to give you a hard time.
No, I understand.
I'm just, listen, I go to the sheriff's department, they tell me to go to Internal Affairs.
But a lot of the
tells me to go back to them.
So that person that you talk to, who is that?
That's a detective for Internal Affairs.
What's their name? Because that doesn't even ring a bell.
Okay, it doesn't ring a bell to me either, because, I'm sorry, I'll play it again.
From my location to 205 Colvin Drive, Madison County.
Good afternoon. This message was sent by Colombian Detective Approval Skill the Office of the Sheriff's Office in Internal Affairs. Received your email.
He works for Internal Affairs Department.
Yes.
PDF.
Yeah, I'm getting started out here, because this is going to be not a patrol matter. This is either going to be, because the threats they're not committing a crime.
Threatening me?
That's not a threat, though. In New York State, that's not a threat.
What is it?
Saying that you're going to lose your house.
I'm going to take your house. Not lose, I'm going to take your house. I'm going to take your kids, using specific judge friends. And that's happened in family court.
But none of this has occurred in the past 2 years.
It's occurring right now. I just had a family court trial. I just had to go to family court.
And what happened there?
Well, the decision is out yet, but before that, we had to go to court, and they took my son away. They took 50-50 custody away.
Okay, so there's a whole lot more going on than just.
Right.
So this all has to go happen in courts, not a police level.
I was told by the courts, and I was told by the sheriff's deputies, and I was told by Internal Affairs to report it.
I'm going to get a supervisor out here, because none of this is really making sense for me, at least. I've been doing it for 14 years, and
So you're telling me if this attorney, if I threaten this attorney, and he called you, and you...
It depends what the threat is. That's not a threat in my eyes. I'm going to kill you. That's a threat.
You're going to end up in a ditch? Isn't that a threat?
That's very vague, if that.
Okay.
I'm going to kill you
let me just
and you have no proof of it.
No, I do. But here's the thing. Now, if this attorney called you to his house, and he's an attorney, and he's an upstanding, member of the society, whatever, and he called you and he said, Michael Urbino, 3 Pine Street, tattoos, they look at me, and he says, this guy threatened to put me in a ditch if I had shut up about the fraudulent activities he did. Would you be at my house putting me in handcuffs?
No, because it's not. In New York State, harassment isn't even a crime. It's a violation.
But if I have
that didn't occur in my presence,
proof that I'm speaking out about his fraud,
then that has to be hit, and that's like a whole internal investigation. That's not a not a
what would you
patrol.
suggest that right? Well, I was told to call a non-emergency number or 911 and tell them it's not an emergency to have a deputy come out to make a report. From your report, we will go to a detective. And
That's a detective doesn't take over a harassment case.
No, but there's fraud attached to it. Forgery and fraud.
I don't understand. This is going to be way above what, because this is all going to have to. This is already signed off on a judge. This is already signed off on lawyers.
No, that's not.
Dude, you have all the court documents saying it is. But no, you're saying those are fraudulent, so that's going to have to go to the state level.
So should I call the state, please?
I don't even think they're going to be able to help you with it. Because they're not going to turn
so
it over to
attorney gets away with
detectives.
fraud, forgery on a state level. He gets away with fraud, forgery, threatening me.
But then you're saying everything that they signed, judges and everything are fraud.
No, I'm not.
Because they're signing the paperwork for the attorney.
I'm not talking about this. The house. I'm talking about the birth certificate. There's no judge signed off on this.
And that was 13 years ago, right?
No.
She's 13, you said. When did you
adopt? I adopted her when she was 7.
Okay, so we're just having an issue with the paperwork now? 7 years later.
It arose in 2022 and I found out it was fraudulent.
But you're the wife that has custody, right?
We have joint custody, but
That doesn't have an issue with it.
she does have an issue with it. She reported this to the federal government.
So it's already been brought to the federal level. This is the local level. If it's already above our pay grade, then
I was told by the Social Security Administration to report.
wait, but you can call whoever you want. They're gonna pass it on to the next one, pass it on to the next one. But you already went to the highest level of federal.
No, they
So
came
you're
to me.
almost talking about this has to go to Supreme Court because this is already passed county court.
Listen, the man has done a fraudulent adoption.
And then it was fraudulently signed by.
Forged paperwork. No, it wasn't fraudulently signed by a judge. A judge gave her permission to change her last name. And did not give her permission to make me the father, put me the father on the birth certificate. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. The judge gave me permission to change her last name to Orbino from Mantero. In this order right here. And in this order he says, he's not granting he's not changing parents or anything, it's just a name change, which I don't know what he was doing in court and with my ex-wife. They were doing an adoption to my knowledge. Then what he did is concurrently at the same time he lied. They were running a family court statement trying to do the same thing, change the name. Once they were granted the name change, he fraudulently filled out an acknowledgement of paternity when she was 7. Acknowledgement of paternity is done when you're in the hospital, when you're not married, and the child is just born. It's not done when they're 7. And he took this acknowledgement of paternity, he forged another attorney's name to it.
Now, how do we know this? This is all forged.
Because I was there the night he did it, and there was only 4 people in the room. There was myself, my ex-wife, his paralegal, and himself. And it's his handwriting.
So you're just saying this Karen Smith, is that Karen Smith doesn't exist?
No, she doesn't exist. Her name is...
That never works for this person.
No, there's no Karen Smith. Her name is Wendy, and I have an email proving that her name is Wendy. So when my ex-wife...
So if I call the ex-wife and ask her if she's got an issue with all this stuff, she's going to say yes, it's already being handled in the federal level.
She's the one who reported it. I don't know. She's nice to her teeth. I don't know what she's going to tell you. If she thinks you're going to help me, she's going to tell you the opposite. So, but what I can tell you,
the question is what are we trying to get out of all of this?
A report of what Anthony Germano has done, his crimes that he's done. Because I was at the district attorney's office
several times.
I was at the district attorney's office yesterday, sitting down with the 2 ADAs.
And what did the ADA tell you?
To call the sheriff's department again.
Who told you that? Which ADA?
I was told to report it.
Because this sounds like everybody higher than us is telling us to report it to the lowest person.
No, you're 100% right. What's happening is the district attorney's office told me they don't feel comfortable reporting them at first because you still work for their office. I went there yesterday with this evidence. I sat down for an hour and a half. Okay. I said, I've got a problem because I went to the sheriff's department. He threatened me when I went to the sheriff's department. I said, when I first reported it, right after I reported it, on 11/8 of 23. A couple days after that, he called me from a private number and told me to shut the fuck up about the adoption. Don't go to the sheriff's department again. Schiano is brother's a sergeant there, and you're going to end up in a fucking ditch if you go to the sheriff's department again.
And that was never reported then when this happened. Was this reported then when that happened?
I tried to follow up from the initial report to tell them that, but everybody kept telling me, we'll get back to you, we'll get back to you, we'll get back to you.
And who were you trying to contact with that?
I was trying to follow up with the original DR number, the report, or the forgery.
Okay, you have that report number?
I do. DR number 23-556.